All right, we've done a safety start, and now we're going to move into our air brake supply tests. Now, it is true that if you get one word or number wrong on the air brake supply test, you will instantly fail the entire pre-trip. However, do not feel pressured by this. I think a lot when you're first starting out learning this, a lot of the trainees overthink the process. So the first thing you're going to want to do is kind of two things. You're going to need to learn how to perform it, demonstrate it, and you need to learn the numbers and words you need to say, and then you put it together. So I think when you're first learning the air brakes, trying to demonstrate and say it at the same time becomes very overwhelming. So I'm going to talk about the different tests and what they are. So if you understand why something is doing what it's doing, it makes it easier to remember. So we do a safety start because we need to build air. So the very first part of the air supply test. Right now we can see that these needles are not moving. Our air tanks are full. So these, by the way, are the gauges that show us our air tanks, how much air is in our tanks. So let me back up and start with these little guys because I do not like these. They're not really numbered very good, but there are these little slashes. Okay. Oh my goodness. Stop getting blurry. So right here is 0. This is 50. So I'm guessing this is about 25. So, and then this would be 75. This would be 100. Over here is 150. Now here's the thing. So actually it's interesting because these top ones are not actually 25. I think this is 20 and this is 120. And this is 140, even though it's really far away. I don't know why they do it this way. And this little one here is 60. And I'll show you why as we do this, because on our different tests, this is one range. One of the tests needs to be in this range. One of the tests is going to have this number. Oh, sorry, not 60. I think that's 55. It's 55 or 60. I really hate these gauges. And then one's down here. So let me kind of put this together. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that our air tanks are building air, right? Because our brakes are not going to work if there's no air. We have what's called an air governor. And what happens is the air builds and then the governor has to cut out. It basically needs to stop the air from building, because if the air continues to build, the tanks are going to explode. That would not be good. So the first thing that we need to make sure is that 1, our tanks are actually building air, and 2, the governor is going to cut out and stop that air so our tanks don't explode. So that's the first test, air governor cutout. Now this little tiny range right here, the air governor must cut out between 120 and 140 PSI. When it comes to the numbers on the air brake test, you have to get the exact number. You cannot, if it's any other number, you will fail. So the first, my gosh, brain spacing. The first range, the first one is the two numbers together. So the 120, 140, 120, 140, 120, 140, 120, 140. So you're gonna want to figure out a way to memorize the words on this separately. And I actually suggest they're gonna demonstrate the air brake test the first couple days you train with pre-trip. Really start memorizing the words for it, because if you can memorize the words and then you have those in your muscle memory, then it becomes easier. You're not going to overthink it when you're also trying to perform it or demonstrate it, do it. So the first test, the air governor cutout. So the air governor must cut out between 120 and 140 PSI, but our bus is running. It's been, we haven't released any air because we have made sure that we're not pushing the service brake all the way to the ground. So when you do your safety start, your air tank should be pretty much full. So in order to show that it's building, you're going to have to release some of the air to drop it down in order to show that it's building up. So the number for that, I forgot there's that number too, is 90 PSI, but you don't have to say that one out loud. You just basically need to know that this needle needs to drop below this 100 mark before you can actually build the air back up for the test. Okay, so the tester's on the bus and you finished your safety start, and so you're gonna say to the tester, I am ready to start my air brake test. I am going to do the air governor cutout, and then air governor will cut out between 120 and 140 PSI. You can say all of that first, then now we get to push this all the way down. You hear that whooshing sound? That's releasing air. It takes about 3 pumps. Your needle is now below the 100. You do not have to say that you're dropping it to 90. You just need to do it. Now, as it's building this first time, we do not ever rev the engine, because you have to check and make sure that the air tank is actually building correctly, and the governor does cut out between 120 and 140 PSI, so our tank doesn't explode, right? Also, it is really important that you do not release that air until the tester is on the bus, because that is part of the actual air brake test. Our air governor should cut out. It's a little tiny whoosh. It's not very loud. So then you would say the air governor cut out at, and see how it's kind of in the middle? Well, I guess it's towards the top. So I'd say 125 PSI. So it's closer to the top line. But it's really important because releasing that air is part of the test. And also you need to do your safety start before you even start your test. So you do your safety start, then you say, I'm going to do my air brake. I'm ready to start my air brake test. I'm going to start with the air governor cutout. The air governor will cut out between 120, 140 PSI. You can notice too, sometimes these are different. Pick one gauge for the test and use it. I picked the top, but pick one and stay on that same, just use the same one. All right, so then you're gonna tell her, or him, the tester, what PSI did it actually cut out at. So it needs to cut out between 120, 140 PSI. Then you're gonna tell the tester what PSI did it cut out at. So it cut out at, in this case, 120 PSI. So the two parts of that, the demonstration part is like basically 3 or 4 pumps to get your needle down below the 100. Slowly let it build up until it cuts out, and then tell the then tell the tester what it cut out at. So that's the demonstration part, is 3 or 4 pumps, get the needle below the 100, let it build up, and listen for that air governor cut out, that whooshing sound. For the words, before you start doing it, you can say to the tester, I'm going to do my air governor cutout test. The air governor will cut out between 120, 140 PSI. Then you can focus on demonstrating it. Release release air, get this below 100, build it up, hear the whoosh. Then you can say the air governor cut out at and tell what PSI. So you can do the words before and after and demonstrate in the middle, so you're not trying to say and do it at the same time. Because especially when you're just starting out, like, there's so much to learn. It really is information overload, so you want to make it as simple as possible. So now that we have verified that our tanks are building air, yay! That means our brakes should hopefully work. And the air governor is cutting out, so our tanks aren't exploding. Yay! Now what we need to do is we need to make sure that our tanks are not leaking. We need to make sure that if we are out driving and they start to leak, that warning alarms are going to come on and let us know, hey, air tanks are leaking. And then we need to know that our parking brake is going to pop out and stop the bus if it's leaking. So that way it stops the bus and we don't, crash hopefully into anything. So there's a leak test, low pressure warning device test. Yes, that's a long one. And a parking brake pop out test. So the leak test is obviously we're going to test for a leak. Low pressure warning device test. What that's saying is if your pressure is getting low pressure, are your warning devices coming on? Warning devices would be lights and alarms. So it's a low pressure warning device test. If there's low pressure, our warning device is coming on to tell you that there's low pressure and that your tanks are leaking. I hope that makes sense. Parking brake pop out. Right here on this big yellow knob, it says parking brake, right? So parking brake, service brake. No idea why it's called a service brake, but it says parking brake right on it. So that'll help you remember parking brake pop out. So right now, this is popped out. When this is popped out and it's pulled towards you, that means that it is on and the bus ain't moving because it's your parking brake. It's holding the bus. When you push it in, and it says right here, push to release, it releases the air brake. And then if you put the bus in drive and take your foot off the brake pedal, the bus is going to move. Okay. So 2 things that are really important here. 1, you cannot test for leaks if the bus is on and your tanks are building air. How are you going to test if they're leaking if they're still building air? I say things like this because so many drivers struggle and fail the pre-trip from this that I try every way I can to make it stick in your brain. Like I just say everything I could think of, and hopefully you'll find something that makes it stick so you remember it, okay? So really important here, you have to turn the bus you have to turn it off and back to the run position before you can do the leak test, the warning device test, and the pop out test. So that's the first thing. So I'm going to put my foot on the service brake and I'm going to say, next I'm doing my leak test, I'm going to turn the bus off and I'm going to turn it back to that run position. Okay. Now, the second thing is these 3 go together. So you're going to test, you're going to hold for 1 minute and make sure there's no leak. You're going to go right into your warning device test, and then that's going to bleed into your parking brake pop out test. So if you get down to the end and you get to your parking brake pop out and it doesn't pop out because you never released it, you're going to have to stop. You are going to have to stop the test and tell the tester, I need to restart. Because if you do not catch that and restart it from the beginning, from the full air governor, build up, all of that, then you will fail. Once you tell the tester you're done with your air brake test, you cannot change it. So if your parking brake, it's a parking brake pop out test. So if your parking brake does not pop out, you didn't release it. So it's okay. You just have to go, tell the tester I need to restart my air brake test, and go back to the air governor, do a safety start, go back to your air governor cutout and start over. All right. So leak test, low pressure warning device, and parking brake pop out. You put your bus in run because your air tanks cannot be building air in order to do these tests. You are now going to build leg muscle. You are going to put your foot on this service brake. You're going to push it all the way to the floor and you're going to release this parking brake, which means that service brake is staying on the floor. until your parking brake pop out comes back out, with the exception of when you're pumping. Because after we do our leak test, we have to release air to check and make sure the warning devices are coming on and this pops out. But other than a quick release, when you're pumping the air out, that pedal needs to be all the way on the ground, because if you roll the bus during the test, you fail. There's a lot of little annoying things like that. That's like an instant fail. So you put the foot on the service brake. So I'm now going to do my air leak test. You need to have a watch or phone on you that has a 1 minute timer. It is the only time in the test you can use your phone. After the pre-trip, you would have to put it away, but you do have to time it for 1 full minute. So you're going to have it ready. I'm using my phone right now, so I'm not going to actually show, and I'm actually not going to hold it for a minute. I'm going to pretend it's a minute, because the minute's a really long time, and I have to demonstrate this, and my legs start shaking. So, air leak test. My bus is in run. Parking brake is set. Bus is in neutral. My foot is on the service brake. I'm going to release that parking brake, and oh, now that is all the way as far down as you can possibly push it. Okay. So now I'm going to do my air leak test. The first thing you need to look for is after you release this parking brake, after, because look at your needle, push my brake down, it moves, release that, it can move again. You have to wait for your needle to stabilize after releasing your parking brake before you can time it. Okay? Very, very important. So bus is in run, brake all the way to the ground, release your service brake, and you don't have to say any of that. You just need to tell the tester, I'm going to start my air leak test. Okay? Put this down, you release it, you look. Once your needle has stabilized after the parking brake is released, then you're going to tell the tester, my needle has stabilized at, and you're going to kind of guesstimate. I'm just going to say 90 PSI. It's kind of close to the 100. Okay, so all you've said is I'm starting my air leak test, and then when you get to this point, my needle has stabilized at 90 whatever PSI. Then you're going to tell the tester, I'm going to time for 1 minute. I should not lose more than 3 PSI in 1 minute. Class A CDL holders, I know you're used to 4. Make sure you say 3. Drilling it into you. 3. So demonstration. I'm gonna do my safety start really quick. The bus is already in run, so I can start it, but I need to build this air back up, because every time I push that brake down, it's releasing that air. I don't want the alarms to come on until it's time. So while that's building, demonstration wise, you're gonna put the bus in run. You're going to push your service brake all the way to the ground, release the parking brake, wait for your needle to stabilize, and then you're going to time and hold it for 1 minute and make sure that needle doesn't move more than that 3 PSI. That's how you know it's not leaking. That's the demonstration part. The word part, all you got to say to the tester, I am starting my air leak test. My needle has stabilized at, and then name the PSI. I will time for 1 minute. I should not lose more than 3 PSI. After you time for 1 minute, you are going to say, I did not lose any pressure. So that's it. Oh, there was my cutout. So one more time. This is a long video because I really want to make sure you guys know all this. So one more time, the words, I am starting my air leak test. My needle has stabilized at blank PSI. I'm going to time for 1 minute. I should not lose more than 3 PSI. I did not lose any pressure. That's the words. Demonstration. My needle has stabilized at 100 PSI, and time for 1 minute, should not lose more than 3 PSI. You're gonna time it for a full minute, make sure that needle does not move, and then after the minute, I did not lose any pressure. That is the leak test. Yay, air tanks are not leaking. So now we have to find out, well, if I'm out driving and they start leaking, is the bus gonna tell me? Because it's something I kind of need to know, right? So the next one is the really long one, long word, low pressure warning device test. Our low pressure warning device is coming on. So your leg is still holding that pedal down. And after a minute of holding it, your leg is shaking right now. It's a good, it's a great muscle builder here. So from the leak test, we move right on into the low pressure warning device test. So I'm gonna, my leg's getting really tired. So I'm gonna say to the tester, I'm going to start my low pressure warning device test. Warning devices will activate at or above 55 PSI. So I'm pretty sure that this little second dash right here is the 55. So it should activate at or above that line. That's your 55, okay? So then I'm gonna start pumping my brake slowly. Oh my God, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoo! My leg is like really starting to shake from holding it this long. Okay, so let me back up as I'll show it to you in a minute. So now I'm gonna do my low pressure warning device test. I'm gonna say that. Then I'm gonna say that my low pressure warning devices will activate at or above 55 PSI. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna hold that brake down till I'm done saying it. Then I'm gonna start pumping. As soon as the warning, you'll hear it in a minute, as soon as the alarm comes on. So as you're down here, when you are pumping this, you have it all the way down. It's a quick up and then back down and like pause on the down. So like, it's hard to see with the pedals. So I'm going to show you over here, right? So, okay. So like my foot's up here on the pedal. I'm going to push it all the way down to the floor. And then when I go to pump it, it's a quick up and then back down and hold it for a second. Because if you don't, then you risk the bus rolling and then you fail. So it's a quick up, down, up, down, up, down. Maybe this will actually stick in your, sorry, I've never done this like this before. I'm cracking myself up. Okay, gotta have fun in life, right? So when I do this on, and I don't want to do it on here too, because then it's going to keep releasing air and then I have to rebuild it and all that jazz. Okay, so demonstration, which I will show you in a minute, is you're going to do that. And then as soon as the alarm and the lights come on, you are going to put your foot, stop, like, because what you're going to do is if you do a quick release and then when you hold it down, pause for a second, then when the alarms come on, you just hold it. You're already down. You just keep it there. It makes it easier to stop because you have to tell the tester what PSI did it go off at. So with all of these tests, we have to tell them what range or what number it needs to be doing something at. And then we have to actually tell them the number it did it at to verify that it's doing it correctly. So, and also for these buses, sometimes when the alarm comes on, like if you stop right then, it'll go off again. So usually when the alarm goes on, I do one extra pump, hold the pedal down to the ground and tell the tester that the low pressure warning, actually you've already said low pressure warning device test. So you can just say that my warning device is activated at, and then you tell them what PSI. From there, once you've told them that, then you're gonna tell them, now I'm going to do my parking brake pop out test. Parking brake should pop out at approximately 40 PSI. So on here, here's your 50. This is about 20 because you don't say this part on the test, but for your knowledge, your parking brake should pop out no lower than this mark here, than this 20, but it should be more around 40 PSI. Very important to say the word approximately, because we've had one of the testers, I forget which one, fail trainees for saying about instead of approximately, even though like technically means the same thing. Sometimes you will get a tester that is very, very specific. So really important just in general for that to say at approximately 40 PSI. So then you're going to continue pumping like you did for the warning devices. And then once this pops out, oh my God, you're going to pull that leg like off that brake. Like, oh, you're going to be like, oh my God, my leg's so tired. So as soon as that pops out, boom, release that service brake, because now you got your parking brake on, your bus ain't moving. Okay. And give your leg a little rest. So once it pops out, what are you going to say? You're going to tell the tester at what PSI it popped out at to verify that it was, in around approximately what it's supposed to be. Whoo, so much talking. Okay. I know it's a lot. I'm going to probably break these down individually too, but all right. So now I'm going to do all three. So first, before I do it, I'm going to go over the words again. I am going to do my air leak test. My needle has stabilized at blank PSI. I will time for 1 minute. I should not lose more than 3 PSI after 1 minute. I did not lose any pressure. Now I'm going to do my low pressure warning device test. Warning devices will activate at or above 55 PSI. Warning devices activated at blank PSI. Now I'm going to do my parking brake pop out test. Parking brake should pop out at approximately 40 PSI. Parking brake popped out at blank PSI. That's it for words. Like when you're trying to do both at the same time, it seems like so much, but really that's all you're saying. You're literally just telling the tester what the test name is, what the ranges are, basically the numbers, and then you're demonstrating it, and then you're verifying the number that it's in the correct range. So when you look at it that way, it's not quite as difficult. So now I'm going to demonstrate it. All right. So I'm going to do my air leak test, which we're going to turn this back on because we've just completed our air governor cutout, which I'm going to kind of build this back up just a little bit really quickly because sometimes this messes that way. Sometimes like it gets stuck, the air governor won't build up. So you got to put the brake on, and then for some reason that'll allow it to build. So I'm just going to build it up a little bit. All right, so our air governor is already cut out. So now I'm going to do my air leak test. I just realized. My needle has stabilized at 90 PSI. I will time for 1 minute. I should not lose more than 3 PSI. After 1 minute, I did not lose any pressure. I will now do my low pressure warning device test. Warning devices will activate at or above 55 PSI. One extra pump. Warning devices activated at 55 PSI. I will now do my parking brake pop out test. Parking brake should pop out at approximately 40 PSI. Parking brake popped out at 25 PSI. That's it. That's your leak test, low pressure warning device test, and your parking brake pop out test. So try to learn the words, kind of like break it down like that. It'll make it easier. Now you can see here, these are the warning devices. These are our lights. Brake air, brake air, brake air. It's leaking, it's leaking. And then the really annoying alarm, and it says low air, brake air. So that's why you say warning devices have activated at whatever PSI, because there's the this guy, and the alarm. Those are the devices. Okay, so now you've done your leak test. It's not leaking, yay. If it does leak, warning devices are coming on, awesome. And our parking brake will pop out, great, so that way the bus stops. Now we need to rebuild up the air governor One, so this really, really annoying alarm will stop going off. And two, so you can do your service and parking brake tests. So I am going to do another safety start. This is safety start number 2, right? So we're gonna turn the bus off. Make sure your foot's off the brake, put it in run. My DEF and ABS lights are on and off the dash. Wait to start is off the dash. Parking brake is set. Bus is in neutral. Foot is on the service brake. It is safe to start the bus. Okay. Now this time, we have already verified that the air tanks are building properly. So this time we can rev it to go a little faster. But what we're gonna say is the air governor will cut out between 120, 140 PSI. When you go to rev it, you need to keep it at or below 1200. So rev slowly. You don't want to go above the 1200 for the test. In real life, you can go up to like the 15, it's fine. But in the test, don't go above the 1200. So as you're revving this, you can watch, oh yay, our alarms went off, woo! Okay, so all you've said is, so you've done the pop out, and then I'm gonna do a safety start, you do your safety start, and then you say, air governor is gonna cut out between 120, 140 PSI. That's all I've said. And then I'm gonna rev it, I'm gonna sit here and chill until the governor cuts out again. And then what are you gonna tell the tester? What number it cut out at, right? You guys got it. I know you got it. I have faith in you. So the whoosh, I'm listening. His whooshes are so lame on these buses. Anyway, so now it's in the middle. So my air, well now it's kind of, see it kind of went back down. So my air governor cut out at 120 PSI. Woo! That is the air brake test. And then I would say the tester should ask, have you completed your air brake test? If you are sure you did it right, you can say, yes, I have. And if you did it right, you pass. And if you did it wrong, you fail. If you think you messed up in any way, shape, or form, this is where you say, no, I need to start over and redo the entire thing. Okay, even if you got it all right, if you think you got it wrong, you can do it one more time. All right, guys, this is a really, really long video. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Think I'm just gonna do like some individual, now that I've explained it all, I'm just gonna do some little demonstration videos. Okay, see you there.